My name is Chloe. I'm 31 years old, and I'm a veterinary surgeon. On a Tuesday morning in March, sitting in my car in the parking lot of my own clinic, I watched $74,000 disappear from my business account in real time. $74,000. My equipment lease, my payroll for 2 technicians, 3 months of operating costs for the animal clinic I had spent 6 years building from nothing. Gone. And when I called my older sister, the one person on this planet I had trusted with access to that account, she picked up on the third ring and said, with a little laugh in her voice, "Relax, Chloe. It's not like you weren't going to help me anyway. Before I tell you what happened next, drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. And if you've ever been betrayed by someone who was supposed to have your back since the day you were born, hit that subscribe button. This is going to be a long one. Let me take you back. My sister Nicole is 5 years older than me. Growing up in a small town outside of Nashville, Tennessee, she was the star. Homecoming queen, straight A's, the kind of girl who could walk into a room and every pair of eyes would follow her. My parents adored her. She was their golden child, their proof that they had done something right. I was the quiet one, the weird kid who brought home injured birds and cried when the neighbor's dog limped. I was invisible in the best of times and an inconvenience in the worst. My earliest memory of knowing my place in this family, I was 9. I had saved up $42 over an entire summer, mowing lawns and selling lemonade in the Tennessee heat. I wanted a stethoscope, not a toy one, a real one. I had seen it in a medical supply catalog at the library and I had circled it in blue pen and taped it to my bedroom wall. $42.50. I counted that money every night before bed. One morning I woke up and the mason jar on my dresser was empty. I ran downstairs, and my mother was sitting at the kitchen table, drinking coffee, calm as Sunday. She didn't even look up. "Nicole needed new cleats for soccer tryouts," she said. "You understand, right? You're the reasonable one." I stood there in my pajamas, 9 years old, and I understood something that most people don't learn until they're adults. In this house, what was Nicole's was Nicole's, and what was mine was also Nicole's. I just hadn't been told the rules yet. I never got that stethoscope, but I got out. I left for college at 18 with a duffel bag and a partial scholarship to the University of Georgia. I worked the front desk at an animal hospital every night from 6 to midnight to cover what the scholarship didn't. I graduated with honors. I got into vet school. I didn't sleep more than 5 hours a night for 4 straight years, and I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying it because every single dollar I earned, every hour of sleep I sacrificed, was a brick in a wall I was building between me and that kitchen table, between me and the empty mason jar, between me and the understanding that in my family, I was not a person. I was a supply closet. After vet school, I moved to Knoxville and spent 3 years working at a large animal practice, saving every penny. I lived in a studio apartment with a mattress on the floor and a microwave on the counter. My colleagues went out for drinks. I ate rice and beans and ran the numbers on my business plan for the 100th time. By the time I was 29, I had saved $40,000 of my own money and secured a $55,000 small business loan. I opened Ridgeline Veterinary Clinic on a Tuesday in October. The day the sign went up, I sat in the empty waiting room and cried for 20 minutes. Not because I was sad, because for the first time in my life, something was mine and no one could take it from me. Or so I thought. Here's the thing about family. You can build all the walls you want, but they know where the doors are. About 2 years after I opened the clinic, Nicole called me. She was going through a divorce. Her husband had left her for someone at his office, and she was struggling. She had 2 kids, a 7-year-old boy and a 5-year-old girl, and she was drowning. She needed a job. She was between things. She'd been doing bookkeeping for her husband's landscaping business, and now she had nothing. I hesitated. Every instinct I'd built over 20 years told me to keep the wall up. But she was crying on the phone, and her kids were in the background, and I heard my niece say, "Mommy, why are you sad? I am not made of stone." I told her she could help with the clinic's bookkeeping and front desk, part-time, $18 an hour, and I would set up the payroll system so she could manage invoices and payments. It made sense. She had experience. I needed the help. I could keep an eye on things. What I didn't do, and this is the part that keeps me up at night, what I didn't do was set up proper financial controls. I gave her access to the business checking account because she needed to pay vendors. I gave her login credentials to our accounting software because she needed to reconcile invoices. I told myself I would review everything monthly. I told myself she had changed. I told myself that we were adults now and the mason jar was a long time ago. I was wrong. For 8 months, everything seemed fine. Better than fine. The clinic was growing. We had added a third technician. Our client list had doubled. Nicole was showing up on time, handling the books, charming the pet owners. She brought muffins on Mondays. She remembered everyone's dog's name. My staff loved her. I started to relax. I started to think, maybe I had been too hard on her. Maybe people do change. Maybe the wall I'd built was the thing keeping me from having a real sister. Then a vendor called. It was a pharmaceutical supplier, the one who provides our vaccines and medications. They said we were 90 days past due on a $6,200 invoice. I pulled up the accounting software and checked. According to our system, that invoice had been paid 6 weeks ago. I called the supplier back. They checked their records. No payment received. My hands went cold. I opened the business bank account online. I hadn't checked it in 3 weeks because Nicole was handling the reconciliation, and I'd been buried in surgeries. The balance should have been around $74,000. It was $312. $312. I scrolled through the transactions. Over the past 5 weeks, there had been dozens of transfers. Small ones at first, $500 here, $800 there. Then, they got bigger. 3,000,000 yuan, 5,000,000 yuan, $9,000. All sent to an account I didn't recognize. All categorized in our system as vendor payments or equipment maintenance with fake invoice numbers that Nicole had created from scratch. She had been siphoning money out of my clinic for over a month, and she had covered her tracks by creating phantom invoices in the accounting software. Every payment she made to a vendor actually went to her personal account. And because I trusted her, because she was my sister, because she brought muffins on Mondays, I never checked. I sat in my car in the parking lot for 45 minutes. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there with the engine off and the windows up and stared at the screen until the numbers stopped making sense. Then something inside me went quiet. Not numb. Quiet. Like the moment before a thunderstorm when the birds stop singing and the air goes still and you know something is coming. I didn't call Nicole. I didn't text her. I didn't walk back into the clinic and make a scene. I called my accountant, a man named David, who had helped me set up the business. I told him what I'd found. He was silent for 10 seconds, which for David was an eternity. Then he said, "Don't touch anything. Don't move any files. Don't log out. Screenshot everything and email it to me right now. I'm calling a forensic accountant, I know." The next 48 hours were the longest of my life. David's forensic accountant, a woman named Sharon, went through my books with the precision of a surgeon. She traced every fake invoice, every phantom payment, every transfer. The total was $73,688. Nicole had stolen $73,688 from my clinic in 37 days. But it was what Sharon found next that nearly broke me. The transfers from my account didn't go directly to Nicole's personal checking account. They went to a joint account. A joint account under 2 names, Nicole's and my mother's. I had to read that line 3 times. I called Sharon back. "Are you sure?" I asked. My voice sounded like it belonged to someone else. 100%, she said. The joint account was opened 4 months ago. Both names are on the signature card. There have been withdrawals from it going to a mortgage company, a car dealership, and a department store credit card. My mother, the woman who took my $42 when I was 9 and called me the reasonable one, she didn't just know about this. She was in on it from the start. They had opened the account together 4 months ago, a month before the first transfer. This wasn't impulsive. This wasn't desperation. This was planned. My sister had taken a job at my clinic specifically to rob me, and my mother had helped her set up the infrastructure to do it. I drove to David's office. Sharon was there with printed bank statements, a timeline, and a face that told me she'd seen this kind of thing before, but it never got easier. She laid it all out. Nicole and my mother had used the stolen $73,688 to make a down payment on a house. My mother's credit was wrecked from years of my father's bad decisions, so they put it in Nicole's name. They also used it to lease a new SUV and pay off a $14,000 credit card balance. They had spent almost all of it. In 5 weeks, they had converted my life's work into a suburban split-level and a Chevy Traverse. I sat there looking at the numbers, and for the first time in my adult life, I felt the wall I'd built start to crack. Not because of the money. Money is numbers. I'd rebuilt from nothing before. It cracked because some tiny, stupid 9-year-old part of me had still been hoping I was wrong about them, that maybe the muffins were real. That maybe when Nicole called me crying about her divorce, there was a sister in there somewhere who actually needed me and not just my bank account. Sharon was watching me carefully. She said, I know this is personal, but from a legal standpoint, this is embezzlement. It's a felony. You have enough documentation to file criminal charges and a civil suit. The question is whether you want to. I didn't hesitate. Both? I said. File everything. My attorney, a woman named Karen Whitfield, who specialized in financial crimes, moved fast. Within 72 hours, we had filed a police report, obtained a civil court order to freeze Nicole's accounts and the joint account with my mother, and served papers for a lawsuit demanding full restitution plus damages. We also got a temporary restraining order preventing Nicole from coming within 500 feet of the clinic. And then the calls started. Not from Nicole, from my mother. The first voicemail was almost comical in its audacity. Chloe, Nicole just called me hysterical. She said you had her bank account frozen? What is going on? Call me immediately. I didn't call. The second voicemail, 2 hours later, had shifted. The voice was harder. I don't know what kind of game you're playing, but you are going to destroy this family. Nicole has children. Are you really going to do this to your niece and nephew? She was using the kids as a shield. She had stolen from me to buy a house and a car, and her defense was that I would be the villain for asking for it back. The third voicemail came at midnight. This one was pure venom. You've always been jealous of Nicole. You've always resented this family. If you go through with this, you are dead to us. Do you understand me? Dead. I saved every voicemail. I forwarded them all to my lawyer. The confrontation happened on a Friday, not at their house, at Karen's office. My lawyer had arranged a settlement conference, a chance for Nicole and my mother to return the money and avoid criminal prosecution. I didn't want to see them, but Karen said it was important for me to be there, to show them I wasn't hiding and I wasn't afraid. Nicole walked in first. She looked different than I expected. She wasn't the crying, desperate single mom from the phone call 8 months ago. She was wearing a new jacket, new boots, a fresh blowout. She sat down across from me, and the first thing she said was, "You're seriously doing this? Over money? Over money. $73,000. My payroll, my vendor payments, the salaries of 3 people who depend on me. Over money?" My mother came in behind her, lips pressed into a thin, furious line. She didn't sit down. She stood behind Nicole's chair with her arms crossed. She looked at me like I was something she'd scraped off the bottom of her shoe. Karen laid it out. The forensic accounting trail, the fake invoices, the joint account, the house, the car, the credit card, every dollar tracked to the penny. Nicole's lawyer, a nervous-looking young man she had clearly hired the day before, flipped through the documents with widening eyes. He leaned over and whispered something to Nicole. Her face changed. The confidence cracked, just a little, around the edges. But my mother didn't crack. She doubled down. That money should have been shared with this family years ago, she said, her voice shaking but loud. Nicole has 2 children and no husband. You have a business making money hand over fist. You should have offered. You should have been a better sister. I looked at her. I looked at this woman who had taken $42 from a 9-year-old's mason jar without blinking, who had called me the reasonable one because I was too young and too scared to fight back, who had spent 22 years teaching me that love in this family was conditional, and the condition was that I never needed anything for myself. That money, I said, and my voice was steady, was my employees' next 2 paychecks. It was medication for animals that are sick right now. It was the thing I built while you were busy telling me I was nothing. My mother opened her mouth. I held up my hand. You don't get to talk anymore. You lost that privilege when you opened a joint account to launder money stolen from your own daughter. The room went very quiet. Nicole's lawyer cleared his throat and said, very carefully, that his client was willing to discuss a repayment plan. Karen shook her head. Miss, Whitfield will be filing criminal charges on Monday if full restitution is not made by Friday, she said, referring to herself in the third person with the calm confidence of someone who had done this 100 times. Additionally, we will be filing a civil suit seeking recovery of the full amount plus damages, legal fees, and we will petition the court for a forced sale of any assets purchased with the stolen funds. That includes the house. Nicole's face went white. You can't take my house. My kids live there. Your kids live in a house you bought with money you stole from your sister's veterinary clinic, Karen said. The court will see it the same way. My mother grabbed Nicole's arm. They whispered back and forth, frantic, their composure finally gone. The nervous lawyer looked like he wanted to crawl under the table. I sat there and watched them, and I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not anger, just a vast, calm emptiness where the hope used to be. They didn't make restitution by Friday, so Karen filed everything: criminal charges for embezzlement and fraud, a civil suit for full restitution plus $40,000 in damages and legal fees, a petition for court-ordered sale of the house Nicole had purchased with my money. The legal process took 4 months. Nicole tried everything. She claimed I had authorized the transfers verbally. She claimed the money was a family loan. She claimed I had offered it as a gift. But Sharon's forensic trail was airtight. The fake invoices, the phantom vendor names, the carefully disguised transfers, all of it was documented, time-stamped, and irrefutable. It wasn't a family misunderstanding. It was a systematic fraud scheme, executed by someone I had hired and trusted. Nicole pled no contest to 1 count of felony embezzlement. She was sentenced to 2 years of probation, 200 hours of community service, and court-ordered full restitution. The house was sold. The proceeds covered most of what she owed me. My mother was named as a co-conspirator in the civil suit. Because her name was on the joint account, and she had directly benefited from the stolen funds, the court ordered her to pay back her share as well. She had to sell the SUV and liquidate a small retirement account. Total recovery: $68,400 of the original, $73,688. Not all of it, but enough. The last time I spoke to my mother was 2 weeks after the sentencing. She called from a number I didn't recognize. I picked up without thinking. She said 6 words. "I hope you're happy, you monster." I hung up. I changed my number that afternoon. That was 11 months ago. I'm standing in the lobby of Ridgeline Veterinary Clinic right now. We just finished renovating the back treatment area. New surgical lights, new digital x-ray system. We hired a 4th technician last month, a shy, brilliant kid straight out of school who reminds me of myself at that age. Our client list has tripled since I opened, and last quarter was our strongest revenue period ever. There's a framed photo on the wall behind the front desk. It's me, my 2 original technicians, and our office manager, a quiet, steady woman with sharp eyes and an accounting degree, who reconciles every invoice personally and sends me a weekly report whether I ask for it or not. Her name is Sharon, the forensic accountant who traced every stolen dollar. I hired her 3 days after the case settled, and it was the smartest business decision I've ever made. And our newest part-time volunteer, the one who comes in after school twice a week to help socialize the rescue animals, is a 12-year-old girl with pigtails and big brown eyes. My niece, Nicole's daughter, because none of this was ever her fault, and I refuse to let my sister's choices steal another generation's chance at knowing what real love looks like. I don't see Nicole. I don't speak to my mother. But every Tuesday afternoon, my niece sits on the floor of our kennel room, reading picture books to nervous shelter dogs. And she doesn't know it yet, but she's learning the same lesson I spent 31 years figuring out. Your worth is not determined by the people who raised you. Your future is not a shared bank account. And the people who truly love you will never, ever, make you feel like what's yours was always meant to be theirs. I used to think that cutting ties with your family was the cruelest thing a person could do. Now I know the truth. Sometimes the cruelest thing is staying. Sometimes the bravest thing you'll ever do is close that door, change the locks, and build something so solid that no one can take it from you again. Have you ever had to choose between the family you were born into and the life you built for yourself? Tell me your story in the comments. If this hit close to home, please hit that like button and subscribe to Karma's Turn for more stories about people who refuse to stay broken. And remember, you don't owe anyone your destruction, not even the people who share your last name.